from the atrium at Gallery Place in the heart of Chinatown. Welcome to this edition of the Rink Report. He is Tarek El-Bashir. I am John Walton, and it is indeed an exciting day for the Washington Capitals, the Washington Wizards, and Monumental Sports and Entertainment. Tarek, officially underway. The transformation over the next 3 years of Capital One Arena into a 21st century world-class facility. Renderings were shown. The mayor was here. A lot of exciting things going on, and boy, it's just seeing the renderings are pretty exciting.
You know, John, I feel like we've been talking about this for like 3 or 4 years. It hasn't in reality been that long, but to finally be at the moment where shovels are about to be in the ground, it's really exciting. I mean, you know, we spend a lot of our lives in this building. So do fans, so do season ticket holders. And I feel like we all deserve a place that we can not only be proud of, but, you know, it has great accessibility. It has great food options. It's got more bathrooms. But I'll tell you, I mean, it's just really cool that we're finally at this moment where, you know, Washington, D.C. is a first-class city, and we're about to have a first-class arena. It's going to take a few years. There's going to be some dust. It's going to be loud at times. But I think the average Capitals fan, Wizards fan, isn't really going to notice a whole lot as it's being done.
I think you're going to see through the concourses the pardon our mess. I think that's going to be going on here for a little bit, but with the end result being almost a completely new arena here, and in seeing some of the renderings and some of the ingress and egress, shall we say, and getting in and out, you know, there's really just been the F Street entrance since this building came to be. And we know the log jam that occasionally will happen there. And fans, I don't have to tell you, if you're there for a big game and you're backed up to the other side of the street, a lot of the entrance to this building, there's going to be more of them. They're going to be moved. I love the one right next to where the Metro, right at 7th and F, where you're going to have this brand new entrance, these sweeping concourses as you're walking in, and everything has a 21st century feel to it. I got really excited seeing the renderings, and I think once people see the video that Monumental put out, boy, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, better food, shorter lines, more bathrooms. I mean, I'm pumped. The thing that really stood out to me from the renderings, John, and I'm sure this caught your eye as well, the facade. It's like all glass. And I got to imagine when that's lit up at night, this is going to be the center of town. Like, if you're flying into Reagan Airport, like, you're going to see red or blue or however the building is lit up that night. It's really going to light up the night sky. I mean, there are just so many cool things about what's going on here. And it's hard to wrap your mind around how much money they are spending. I mean, but, you know, it's some public money, it's some private money. It's going to be like $1 billion.
Basically.
All said and done. And, you know, you and I travel a bit. We see hockey games in other arenas. For fans who travel a bit on the East Coast, this is going to remind them of what Madison Square Garden went through a few years back, where they're going to do a lot of the work in the summer. They're going to do a lot of the work while you're sleeping, like after you leave the games. It's going to be like a 24-hour crew getting stuff done. But slowly but surely, you're going to start seeing, okay, there's a new concourse. Okay, those seats are new. Okay, and then after 3 years, it's going to be like, whoa. This is the finished product. This is amazing.
And one of the things, just from a competitive standpoint, and a lot was made at the press conference here about the player amenities, the locker room sizes are doubling, and all of the things that go into, hey, playing for the Washington Capitals, there's the culture, there's the winning, there's a lot of good things going on now. There's been a lot of things going on really since the 80s in a lot of ways involving the Capitals. But now, hey, have you seen our locker room? Look at all the cool things we have. And, you know, whenever we're on the road and we go through, and there are some awfully good home dressing rooms out there, and being able to see those,
Edmonton.
And now Toronto. Washington is going to have that. And listen, to me, that's just another recruiting tool to be able to say, listen, the players are taken care of here from start to finish, attract the best talent for the on-ice product. That's a win-win for everybody.
Look, players don't sign with a team because of their practice facility or their game arena, but it can certainly be a recruiting tool, and it can be a tiebreaker. If the money is equal and both teams have winning legacies, okay, I'm going to go to the place that has the new arena, has the new sparkling locker room, that has the new room for my wife and children to go and play afterwards, that has the ease of access getting in the building and getting out of the building. So I'm not sure the average fan really understands how big that is in terms of recruiting and retention. Not only the players, but also the people behind the scenes, the assistant general managers, assistant coaches. They all pay attention. I mean, when I tell you, people who are involved with teams, they live in these buildings. Like, they get to the arena before the sun comes up. They go home after the sun goes down. Like, if you can have a nice place to work all day, work your 14-hour day, you're going to come to D.C.
Let's talk a little bit as we shift gears on what's going on around the team as the Capitals getting ready for an awfully big showdown with the Carolina Hurricanes. These two teams in the halves portion of the Metropolitan Division. That's a 3-team list between the two teams that are going to play in this building on Friday night and the New Jersey Devils. The have-nots are 8 points or more below that, and that separation, the Capitals are on the good side of the ledger, but they're coming off a pretty rough road trip in which they lost in regulation to Dallas. They lost in regulation to Chicago after blowing a 2-goal lead in the third period. They're trying to get back on the beam for this one, and in doing so, you want to put your best foot forward. I'd like to think the Chicago game is a wake-up call, T, for saying, listen, you were winning, but you weren't really playing your best hockey and have been sliding a little bit. Now the opportunity is go out and punch Carolina in the mouth and then move on to L.A., another good team coming in here on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree with you there, John. I do feel like there was a bit of a backslide there. You look at their 5-on-5 play, it hasn't been nearly as dominant as it was, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks ago. They were relying on special teams and some good goaltending performances. And, I'm not sure fans recognize the travel difficulties. You do, because you were on the plane.
Do I?
Coming from Dallas, getting into Chicago, I mean, players at the highest level, whether it's the NBA, NFL, especially hockey, they are creatures of habit. And when things get disrupted, it's sometimes really hard to regather yourself and get ready to play. And this is not making an excuse. These are professionals who make millions of dollars, but they're still humans. And you guys got stuck in Dallas.
We sure did.
Tell us about it.
So we were in Dallas, and after the game, lose to the Stars, I did not know, and it was the mechanisms were being put in place to stay the night there, but I didn't know until we got to the bus, and I thought I was going to Love Field, and I was going back to a different hotel that I left downtown in uptown Dallas. Only to stay the night there, breakfast the next day, and then fly and not arrive into Chicago until lunchtime to play at dinner time. And I gotta say, T, a tip of the cap, and I know that anytime I've ever asked him to, hey, can we interview you to talk about what you do? And he says, absolutely not, I'm never talking to you for any reason. And that's Rob Tillotson, who is our director of team services.
He doesn't really exist.
No, I'm telling you, he is the man behind the curtain. Without him, we would all flail tremendously.
Yes,
and
we would never get anywhere.
You'd never know. I mean, it was flawless. Breakfast, everything was laid out as if it were meant to be that way, and it was not meant to be that way. Rob did an unbelievable job getting us from Dallas to Chicago, very short notice, and then get home. But let me tell you, that's a day. When you wake up in Dallas, play in Chicago, and come home to D.C.
Those cities aren't close to each other.
Listen, I'm old now, so I mean, listen, I could barely get out of bed yesterday. This is it is trouble, and you know what, those things are going to happen through the course of the season. But now you got to rest, you got to practice. Lars Eller with a maintenance day, assuming that he's going to be good
Alex
to go.
Ovechkin's getting ever closer.
Ovechkin is getting closer, and there is a real chance that he plays before Christmas. I would say it is 99.9%. The latest he will be back is the first game after the holiday break in Toronto, which is coming up 10 days from now. We are going to see Alex Ovechkin in December. We are going to see him return to the lineup from a broken leg that was sustained in the middle of November in Salt Lake City. I don't think there's any question now. He is starting to ramp it up, so just got to get rid of the no contact. But as he moves forward, getting everybody in the right seats, that's what needs to happen. Not that the team hasn't done a great job without him, but you got to get everybody back in the right chair, and that's what we're going to see here soon.
Yeah, listening to Spencer Carberry the other day, he said, because it's been 4.5 weeks or so since the injury, they are going to need a little bit of time to really ramp him up. So once that no contact jersey comes off, then he's probably going to need a practice 2, maybe 3 of being full contact, and we've seen it before. He goes through the flow drills, goes through the power play stuff, and then afterwards he goes into the corner, and maybe like a Dylan McIlrath will lean on him a little bit and kind of push him around just so he can get used to contact. Remember, he hasn't been bumped in a month, and you don't want your star player, or any player for that matter, going into an NHL game having not sustained some contact. It just feels different. You have to use different pressure points in your legs to kind of steady yourself. So that's the next thing. So for me, when I see him doing some of those battle drills after practice with some of the scratches, that's when I know, all right, alert, he might be back next game.
And everything's been relatively healthy, knock on wood, so the Capitals trying to get back on the beam, and wouldn't it be great? And they did fall out of first place after the loss to Chicago, but New Jersey, Carolina, and the Caps all right at the top there. Get a little bit of positive momentum, feel good going into the holidays, and find yourself hopefully in first place at Christmas. If you would have said that on opening night, there would have been dancing in the streets here. Guy probably said, we're good here. Yeah, so that does not a season make, of course. But if you can be in that position to go into January, you got a big, ugly road trip coming up before January comes to a close, you're going to get that break for Four Nations. But if you can start to get rid of these 2-2s that have been, I'm sorry, the bane of this team's existence. They played great. It's not that, but it takes a lot out of the batteries where you're doing it every single week, back to back, back to back, back to back, back. Those are about to be done.
Yeah.
Past Jan 10, I think there's only 2 the rest of the season. So the schedule's favorable. Just battle through here in the next few weeks. You're going to be in pretty good shape.
And this is where the coaches earn their money because, again, players, they get paid a king's ransom to play a child's game. That said, they're still humans. And they start looking ahead to the holidays, and they start getting the honey-do list for shopping and who's coming in town and who needs to be picked up from the airport, and they start to lose focus sometimes getting close to the holiday break. So that's going to be Carberry's biggest challenge here, is going to be keeping everyone dialed in for these last few games. It is so important to go into that break with some momentum because, again, it doesn't get any easier on the backside. And, another thing, I feel like because of the way this team plays, how much energy they expend playing that man-to-man and just the up-tempo system, like you can tell they need a little bit of a break mentally and physically. So again, just empty the tank, do the best you can these last few games, win some games, gather some points, and then you got this nice break to recharge, be around your family, and then get ready for the second half of the season.
We have done the best we know how heading into the holidays here on the show.
Have you done your shopping yet?
A little. I got some work to do.
I've done none.
None? That doesn't surprise me at all.
I'm in big trouble.
Holiday edition of the show. Thanks for tuning in. Caps in Carolina. Then on the weekend, Los Angeles in for the only time this year on Sunday at 5. Our holiday shopping isn't quite done yet. For Tarek, I'm John. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Rink Report.